people who want to stay always young by heart and mind.
And I feel just because men are born a certain gender and they're stuck with that role of playing the provider, I feel they are more stuck than women. Started motorcycling, I was already 45 years old. So I started the first ever all women's training academy in India. जो इंडिया की पहली थी ना, I had started that in 2013.
So don't you think like there is biasness कि आप चला रही हो तो आप मन के शांति के लिए जा रही हो, और वो आदमी जो चला रहा है वो तो डेली जो है वो जा रहा है सर्फ एक्सेल खरीदने.
इंडिया बड़ा अनसेफ है, लेडीज को नहीं जाना चाहिए. I've been riding 10 years. ये साइड ये जो मूवीज में दिखाते हैं ना, ऐसा नहीं होता. It's not like that.
तो आपके साथ भी ऐसा नहीं होता है? आप भी
यार ये वो शूट्स के लिए होता है. When I do motorcycling shoots, I do a lot of motorcycling shoots. उसमें तो वो पूरा प्लान हुआ होता है, ये करेंगे, हवा की. But in reality, it's just dust, grime. But that's what executive presence is. That how do I create that impact when I walk in the room? What are people thinking about me? What are they feeling about me? You know, what's the gravitas, or, you know, what's my impact in the room that I walk into? And also, what's the impact when I walk out?
like how should we groom ourselves? Like what are your suggestions for grooming?
एक तो हम कहते हैं कि वो बात नहीं करते, पेरेंट्स को बताना चाहिए, लेकिन आप आर यू द काइंड ऑफ पेरेंट कि आपने वो लिस्टिंग प्रोवाइड करी है कि आप सुन पाओगे माई चाइल्ड फीलिंग सुसाइडल? आर यू रेडी टू हियर दैट?
Okay, so let me just ask you, like for example, we just saw there was a new movie Dhurandhar, right? You know, we saw a character there. Then we had Animal, then we had KGF, Pushpa, Jhokega Nahi, Pathan, Jawan. So many movies, and that shows violent character, or that violent behavior, right? The hero is coming with AK-47 or something like that. And then we have silent behavior, just like that Tare Zameen Par, Sitare Zameen Par, right? How do you see these two characters in a personality? Any message for Delhi wala people? Delhi wale logo ke liye koi?
Yeah, I think Delhi people, ek to, you know, I feel first of all, I think everybody should learn to breathe.
Okay, first of all, let me raise a question that what would you be doing when you would be just 54? Oh, let me not be biased towards the age and towards exactly state of, you know, this Jawani and Burhapa exactly. But I am there to talk about something which is actually so interesting for me. Because a lady who is sitting very close to me or next to me, who can be a motorcyclist, who can be an artist, who can be a learning and development coach and trainer. How is that possible? And having a great spirit of that younghood like a youth. And when I saw her, when I met her, I got completely motivated and inspired. And today, trust me, we're going to dive deep into the podcast in this conversation to learn the art of developing a great behavior towards achieving and receiving and getting something greater in our lives. So let's begin without my further lecturate. First of all, today I would like to talk about the lady who is in the house today. She is Mandeep Marwa. And especially she's also called Mandy. And absolutely she makes all the people Maddie, right? And I would like to welcome you, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Mohammed. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to know that how do you maintain yourself and how do you have this great and young-hooted youth wali spirit?
I don't know. It comes to me very naturally. मतलब मुझे इसके लिए काम नहीं करना पड़ता है. It's a very natural way of being. You know, I think in my heart, you know, I'm still a very young person. As a matter of fact, मुझे कोई बाहर से बोलता है, like when you said, you know, then I realized, oh, हाँ, I'm that old. But in my head and my heart, I'm still very young.
But I can, or nobody is going to call you ever that you are an old lady, right? You also is young. you are young. And first of all, what is your message towards the people who want to stay always young by heart and mind? What to do?
I think I have been very fortunate also, Mohammed. I think मेरी life ने ना मुझे बहुत support किया है. And I've always kept a very positive mindset, you know. And I think as somebody who is, you know, more right-brained, I'm very creative by nature. So, you know, that there is no age limitation when it comes to creativity. So I think always staying creative, staying playful is very important, even at my age. And if you see my husband, we're about the same age. We're still very playful.
Interesting.
So
So, like, what are your messages? What are your roadmaps to be playful? Because we see there are a lot of ladies like who in this age, like they do chattering and they sit and waste their time and they sit idle and they're like, they become auntie and dadi, right? We start calling them. So, what is the message towards those aunties and dadis? How to stay like a young and youth girl and lady? What to do?
it's a very interesting question. So I'm very gender biased, I guess. I think I have, because I have empathy for women, but I have a lot of empathy for men also.
Oh, cool. Great.
I'm not somebody. So
Same way opposite. I have towards female.
yeah, but I have empathy for men also, because what happens is, because मैं motorcycling में हूँ, and I'm somebody who's very independent thinking. I don't live like by everybody else's principles. So वो थोड़ा सा अलग होता है. And because of that, I get a lot of requests for podcasts or interviews or features and things like that. And whenever somebody comes to me, they presume कि अच्छा ये motorcycling करती है तो she must be somebody who's a very women empowerment के लिए. And honestly, that's not who I am. I really believe in having a lot of grace and leveraging the fact that I'm a woman. Because I get these conversations all the time. Do you stand for women empowerment? I like men. I have nothing against men.
Happiness podcast. Happiness podcast is not only the simple and normal podcasting platform, but Happiness podcast is known for its creative content, its insightful, educational, and informative content, because we bring so many coaches from different aspects of life. We bring so many insightful conversation and talks which can guide, influence, and shape the lives of all the viewers and all the consumers. Because this podcast is not for time waste and time pass, but this podcast is for brainstorming. This podcast is for futuristic visionary thought. And this podcast is for insightful knowledge and information. And if you all like this podcast and if you believe that this should benefit the entire world and entire nation, then do one thing: share this podcast, subscribe this channel, and be the permanent consumer and subscriber and viewer of this. Because we make sure, and I promise to you all, that I will bring great, great, and the greatest conversation ever. So stay tuned, stay subscribed, stay the best. Thank you.
And I feel just because men are born a certain gender and they're stuck with that role of playing the provider, I feel they are more stuck than women.
How do you feel that?
Like, because see, आपका क्या role है? When you're born a man, your role is provider. And I think as women, nowadays especially, we have a very, it's not unidimensional. Women don't have to be only caregivers. A lot of women are into, like I am, they're into leadership positions and they're having a lot of fun managing both. Balance करना थोड़ा मुश्किल होता है. It's very difficult to manage your work and life. But I feel like there's a lot of dimensions, both layers होते हैं when it comes to women.
As you mentioned that there are so many layers in the women, right? So men tend to cry or want to cry, but they can't cry, right? They want to show their emotions, but they can't show their emotions.
Right.
They have some pain, but they can't express. So have you ever felt a person's pain, a man's pain exactly, that you found someone that who was completely broke, and that time you felt like, oh, this is the problem with the men?
Yeah. I have, like I said, I have a lot of empathy for men, of course, growing up in the Indian culture, the man has to play the role of provider and the strong person in the family. But I've seen highs and lows with everybody, whether it comes to my father, my brother, my father-in-law, my husband. I've seen the struggles that they have gone through. So मेरे पास उनके लिए बहुत empathy है. And simply because they were born a certain gender, it's not really very fair that they got stuck with that. So yeah, as a matter of fact, my husband shares very openly. वो तो खुल के रोते हैं.
क्योंकि उन्हें रुलाने वाला कोई है.
Maybe. या support वाला कोई है that I've got his back. ये भी हो सकता है.
Let's see the positive aspect. Interesting. So, being a motorcyclist, right? I would like to ask you that what has been your worst experience, best experience, memorable experience?
Okay, sure, I can share that. Of course, best experience, is I think bucket list is the Leh Ladakh. So I started riding about 10 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, almost 10 years ago, I started riding motorcycles. So I started riding motorcycles very late in life because I grew up in the Middle East. और वहाँ पे allow नहीं था. Women couldn't ride motorcycles. Ride क्या? You could not even sit pillion. They would just deport you, Yeah. So I moved back to India about 2 decades ago and then I got into motorcycling. So when I started motorcycling, I was already 45 years old. So it didn't make any sense to anybody. सारे कह रहे थे ये तो midlife crisis हो रहा है इसको. करने दो, like let her play. But out of all the roles that I've played, Abdullah, whether it's mother, daughter-in-law, and now in the training space, I was in design before that. Out of every role that I have played as a woman, so I started the first ever all women's training academy in India. जो इंडिया की पहली थी ना, I had started that in 2013. 2013-14 we started and I ran that for about 2-3 years. And being that person, being that trainer to train women to ride motorcycles has been my favorite role out of all of the roles that I played. Because I was those women. और जिनको मैं train कर रही थी, they were not young women. मतलब वो 20s वगैरह में नहीं आ रही थी. They were 40s, 50s, 63-year-old women I have trained.
Cool, amazing.
And they're riding KTMs now, They've got adventure motorcycles better than mine.
Because they got a good wing.
Yeah, no, but I feel कि opportunity नहीं थी ना पहले. Oh, no brother, father, any boyfriend wants to give their girlfriend a motorcycle, right? And sadke are not, they're not safe, So I was able to create that academy where I was able to give them space, give them the motorcycles and give them the instruction and the skill to ride confidently.
Why women should ride a motorcycle?
Why not? I think the question is why not?
Okay. And so what are the benefits? Like if a lady is going to be a motorcyclist, how it can benefit her, how it can be a profitable decision?
So I don't think this is a gender question.
Okay.
Why do men ride motorcycles? It's exactly the same thing. इसमें कोई फर्क नहीं है. इसमें कोई agenda नहीं है. Like I told you, people come with me with agenda of women empowerment. I have no agenda when I'm riding motorcycles. I'm riding motorcycles because I want to ride motorcycles. Why not?
So you are riding motorcycle because you want to ride motorcycle.
Yeah.
But most of the men I see that they go to the shopping center, shopping complexes, rooms to buy, right, to commute. But you are riding a motorcycle just to go Leh Ladakh.
Leisure. It's for leisure.
It's for leisure.
Yes.
So don't you think like there is biasness कि आप चला रही हो तो आप मन के शांति के लिए जा रही हो, क्रांति के लिए जा रही हो,
बिल्कुल,
राइट. बट वो आदमी जो चला रहा है वो तो डेली जो है वो जा रहा है सर्फ एक्सेल खरीदने.
तो मैंने भी बहुत सारे आलू टमाटर खरीद के अपनी बाइक पे ही बांध के ये काम मैंने भी करे हुए हैं.
किए हैं आपने. You do that on daily basis.
Not daily basis, but I do it.
What you have done it.
I do my vegetable shop. So
interesting. Okay. So like you have been to Leh Ladakh, right? You have just gone with the bike, right? So going by the bike, the people who want to travel to Leh Ladakh by the bike. So what are your messages, guidelines? What should they keep in their mind before they make a plan?
As women?
Wait. Happiness is not only the podcasting platform, but happiness is a complete institution and complete organization and complete personality transforming school, ladies and gentlemen. It is ranked as one of the best personality development school in Delhi, NCR, and also in the nation India. And if you want to develop your English speaking, your public speaking, if you want to groom and brush up your personality, you want to crack any interview, you want to study abroad like IELTS, TOEFL, PT, OET, if you want to learn the languages like German, Spanish, and all, you need this institution. You need Happiness Institute. You can take the courses of Happiness Institute. You can opt the courses through online, offline mode. Happiness Institute has also launched its application on Play Store and App Store, where you can install and learn something in free and something with paid. And we have designed all the lucrative and very insightful courses like on English speaking, public speaking, personality development, TTCs, train the coaches programs. And these courses, these modules will help you to shape yourself and to shape your personality. So inquire the courses, go on the Google, write Happiness Institute, you will get the entire information regarding Happiness Institute courses. Thank you. Stay tuned. God bless you. Women, yes.
As women, okay. So I have traveled the whole country. I've done right from Leh to Kanyakumari. I've done all over the country.
Yes, interesting.
And my advice to anybody is gear. Because the chances of having a having an accident, or Leh pe kya hai, ab to sadkein hai. When I went 10 years, there were no roads. It was complete adventure. There was no concept of roads. To girna hi hai, to gir bhi gaye, ut bhi gaye. So just protect yourself as far as your armor and your gear is. Just a good helmet, a good jacket. Get your riding pants and your shoes. Because even when I used to train, I used to insist. Anika, even after these 12 sessions, if you never ride again, you're not coming into a session unless you're fully. So I used to make sure that their jackets, their helmets, their knee guards, their shoes were perfect, because it takes a minute.
It takes some minutes.
And
how
your
much
life
cost?
and your life. What gear?
Yes.
So good gear is expensive.
How much?
So jackets are, they start at about 5,000-6,000, but they go up to 15, 20, 30.
15 to
And your trousers are about 10,000 bucks. My shoes, I can tell you what I've paid. My shoes are about 11. My helmet's about 15, 16. So it's an investment.
somewhere it's an investment of 1 lakh. 1 lakh.
Yeah, maybe under that.
Under that.
Because if you're going to wear a helmet, that's not going to keep you safe. तो जब चाहिए होएगा और वो चलेगा नहीं, उसको क्या फायदा है?
Right.
Hopefully कभी भी ना चाहिए हो. But the idea is, if you're going to buy something, then it's got to be something that can save you.
That's true.
Otherwise, what's the point?
What if someone is planning, like he's a man or a woman, right? What if he or she is planning to go to Leh Ladakh just single, alone?
So, I also get to hear the story कि India बड़ा unsafe है, ladies को नहीं जाना चाहिए. I've been riding 10 years. And I ride even abroad. जब मैं बाहर भी जाती हूँ ना, मैं कहीं ना कहीं से rent कर लेती हूँ motorcycles. So, but let me tell you, touch wood, I have never had any really bad experience. जो गलतियाँ हुई हैं मैंने करी हैं.
अच्छा.
Like for example, I chose not to stop at night and keep riding till 3 a.m. That galti is mine. If I was not feeling safe, it was not because of the environment. It was a bad decision that I made. But I am telling you, cities it's very, very painful to ride. Like even today, I could have come on the motorcycle, but it's too painful to ride on the motorcycle in a city. आप बाहर निकल जाओ और क्या मजा है. I was sharing with your cameraman also about how I had the worst breakdown in Muzaffarnagar. So we were coming back from Dehradun.
Okay.
So we'd gone to Dehradun, and Dehradun pe ek raste mein padta hai, right? And my bike just broke down. It was a brand new bike, first out of station trip. And he said, nahi, इस वाली version में, it was a new bike, इसमें थोड़ी problem है, ये पूरी खोलनी पड़ेगी. तो 4 hours I sat there. But I am telling you, as a woman, whenever your bike breaks down, पूरा गांव इकट्ठा हो जाता है to help you.
Right.
They are so helpful. बहुत कम हुआ है. और city में जो एक आधा बार मेरे को हुआ है मेरे साथ, where I felt कि I'm completely alone, I have no help, was in Delhi.
Oh my God.
And it was 15th of August, or bada brotherhood and sisterhood. I was standing there for almost 2 hours. Nobody came to help me. The city is very different. आप बाहर जाओ और देखो क्या प्यार और क्या खातिरदारी मिलती है.
So that is why there is a saying that if you feel lonely, come to my village.
Come to my village. Yeah.
Right. I'll show you that how united people live there.
And because I traveled all of it, I have really been into the गांव. तो about a year ago हमने ना ये UNESCO की राइड करी थी. तो Royal Enfield and UNESCO had, I think अभी भी चल रहा है उनका. And they were trying to document all the cultures that are becoming intangible, the intangible cultures जो अब extinct हो जाएंगे. इसके generation के बाद अब ये culture रहेगा ही नहीं. खत्म हो जाएंगी, ये tribes खत्म हो जाएंगी सब. तो we were going into like the tribal area. एक तो वो सड़के वड़के बिल्कुल नहीं है, and they don't allow. You're not allowed to go there. But because ये UNESCO की ride थी, we had done this. And क्या प्यार मिला है वहाँ पे, क्या खाने को. We don't even speak the language. There is no way for me to communicate with the people,
Right.
Itna pyar, and they are so great.
They are amazing actually. That's why there is a saying कि हम जुबान की भाषा नहीं but दिल की भाषा तो समझते हैं.
हाँ, यही है.
Right.
लेह लद्दाख में I wanted to go right into the people and they welcome, उनको तो अब आदत, लेह लद्दाख को आदत पड़ गई है बाइकर्स की. वो वेलकम करते हैं, आप आके यहाँ रहो, घर में रहो.
Okay, now for example, me personally, if I want to travel to Leh Ladakh, right? I have two options. One is to take a flight and land in Leh, right? And one is to rent a bike or take a bike and just go riding. What do you suggest?
So as a biker, I cannot say get right. And also, it's not a good idea because of there's a real loss of air. oxygen is a big issue. Like, अगर आप land करोगे, you will have to deal with so much of acclimatizing to the place. Have you ever been to Leh Ladakh?
I have no.
So you need that one day to just acclimatize because oxygen is much lower.
Okay.
So when we ride, we are riding almost 18,000 feet. Yeah, Khardungla is 18,000 feet.
Right. 18,000 feet above.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like for I think Shimla वगैरह is 3,000. So can you imagine कितना ऊंचा है वो?
That's quite.
So I suggest to go slowly up.
Oh.
Instead of just flying straight there because the body doesn't acclimatize.
So how many days it takes you to reach Leh Ladakh or Ladakh from Delhi?
So from here you go straight to Manali. Actually, I don't even advise that because even riding from here to Manali, काफी लंबा ride है, And then you can start. Just get into Kashmir, you hit Sarchu, Jispa, Baralacha. It's, yeah. But if you want to go, I would not suggest you do anything under 14 days. हमने 12 दिन में किया था. But अगर आराम से करना है तो 15-20 दिन आराम से जाओ.
Say 20 दिन to go.
To go and come back.
Acha, come back also. Okay. What has been the best experience in Ladakh?
Nubra Valley. Oh my God. It is heaven on earth.
Okay.
एक तो लद्दाख वैसे ही बहुत अलग है, because the landscape is so different. मतलब I don't think we have any place, country क्या world wise जो लद्दाख की तरह है, because it's a desert. Actually, it's a desert.
Right.
And Nubra Valley is so beautiful, because you see that एक monastery है 100-foot बुद्धा का monastery, and I'll never forget this moment. And वही होता है ना कि वो moment की बात होती है.
Right.
5 मिनट और आगे पीछे होता है, and I would have missed that moment. And the rays were coming. And they were hitting the statue and I was riding. And riding में क्या होता है ना, it's a very singular exercise. You might go in a group, but you are only in your helmet. And जो दूसरा है वो 2 किलोमीटर शायद आगे है या पीछे, you really feel it's a beautiful, solitary, singular experience, So for me, that moment. And Nubra में क्या है, the mountains are like pink mountains. और उसके बीच में वो stone है ना, it looks like turquoise. So can you imagine? और इस तरफ sand dunes है, there's no way to describe. Words are short to describe. So that's been my most memorable, that ride. I'll never forget.
So is it possible to see or to get that every time whenever we go, or is it like rare that you talk about?
I think that moment for me was very rare कि उसी time वो, सूरज की किरणें उस पे गिर रही थी and then, oh my God, that monastery statue was glowing because it's all gold and red. That was a moment, but otherwise there is so much beauty in India. People always talk about the West Coast. We had done Bombay to Kanyakumari. So that's a very common. People like to do the Western Ghats and all. Up Eastern Ghats jaake dekho.
Achha.
It is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Amazing.
The color of green is something else.
What about photogeny, right? So are you photogenic? Like you love to...
I used to be photogenic, but photography-wise, I don't think I'm bad. But I never get enough time. वो कभी होता ही नहीं है. Because you're so in the moment कि बहुत कम, like so many times we have done rides and come back and said, oh, photo ही नहीं ली. Because you want to capture those moments, right? But yeah, वो पूरा intentionally करना पड़ता है. अच्छा अब यहाँ पे moment है, रुक जाओ, तैयार हो जाओ, helmet उतारो, बाल्टी करो. But mostly I think when you're traveling like that, और एक बार तुम helmet निकालोगे कुछ और ही हुलिया बना होता है. Because the dust and your balaclava, it's not a very pretty sight. ये जो movies में दिखाते हैं ना, ऐसा नहीं होता. It's not like that.
तो आपके साथ भी ऐसा नहीं होता है?
आप भी यार, ये वो shoots के लिए होता है. When I do motorcycling shoots, I do a lot of motorcycling shoots. उसमें तो वो पूरा plan हुआ होता है, ये करेंगे, हवा की. But in reality, it's just dust, grime.
So have you ever been into that heroine wala look or heroine wala style ki?
I've done a lot of shoots.
A lot of shoots you have.
For like BMW. तो मैंने करी हुई है.
Actually have.
And also because I used to work with an American motorcycling company.
Okay, cool.
So we used to only have Harley Davidsons, we had Triumphs. तो सारी बड़ी motorcycles थी. So फिर naturally then we used to even have shoots at the store where I used to work.
Right.
तो वहाँ पे बहुत shoots होते थे.
Okay. So now, okay. I just want to understand the combination, the mixture of this artist and motorcyclist, right? So one way there is a motorcycling, all right? One way is just, that artist wala jadoo is there. So how do you manage these both aspects of life?
Like I said, I don't know if it's just me or it's women or it's everybody. I think we all have layers. हमारे layers होते हैं. We are not, and I think now life is so short कि I want to play every game. जो fit होगी ठीक है. So for me, what fits is my motorcycling. So I also have a Guinness World Record for crochet. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, I went through your process.
वो है ना, so on one side I'm a motorcyclist, and then on the other side I'm that बुड्ढी दादी जो crochet कर रही होती है. That's my love also. I love both equally. ये नहीं है कि one is more precious to me. If I could stop doing everything in the world, I would just be crocheting.
Amazing, amazing.
And then of course I'm in the corporate space, right? I do these leadership workshops with people who are very senior management.
Exactly.
So I feel a lot of us have so many layers, and I am fortunate that I can feed all of these parts of me. Not every woman or every person has the opportunity. आपके भी बहुत hobbies होंगे, आपकी बहुत aspirations होंगे, but शायद because of time or whatever other reasons, you're not able to really follow and play.
Right.
I think because I'm older, बच्चे settle हैं, one's married now. I am at that place in my life where अब मेरे को अपने लिए जीना है,
अपने लिए जी रहे.
हाँ, अब क्योंकि उसके बाद अब नानी बन जाऊंगी बड़ी जल्दी, तो उससे पहले ही जितना खेल सकती हूँ खेलो.
सही बात है. तो okay, so like we have placed 3 plates on dining table. That's the one plate says about motorcycling, the another plate says about that artists or making arts, and the third one says leadership and development training, learning and development training. Which plate are you gonna pick first?
What do you mean? Priority wise?
Exactly.
For me, I don't think, I think maybe my art, I don't know. I'm somebody who's, I'm very multitasking. I'm very good at multitasking, and I'm also a multi-potentialite, So for me, it's very difficult. And I'm at a point in my life जहाँ पे because of पैसा, it's not ये नहीं कि मुझे यही करना पड़ेगा या यही करना पड़ेगा,
वो बहुत ज़्यादा.
नॉर्मली यही होता है कि पैसा कमाना है तो it's obviously learning and development. But for me, learning and development, Mohammed, is not only about पैसा. वहाँ पे भी मुझे मजा आ रहा है because I can see the value that you create in the room. Because जो पहले मतलब I've been in this space about 14.5 years, right? जो 10 साल पहले हम ट्रेनिंग करते थे और जो अब हम कर रहे हैं, बहुत फर्क है. Before it was skills. Now it's things like behaviors, your mindsets, how you think, your value systems, all of this, And I think also because you start doing more senior. Like I don't do so much of training frontline. And it's a very dynamic space. अब तो AI की वजह से सब कुछ बदल गया है. Now it's gone back to skills.
Right.
Skill. पहले क्या होता था कि सारों के पास skills है. आपका behavior है that will take you up the pipeline, right? But now because of AI, वो अब flatten हो गया.
I want to understand this. What behavior do you justify, and do you give thumbs up that this behavior is actually recommended or it is admired by the society? What should be a behavior or kind of generous behavior? I want to understand from you.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful word. I think grace and generosity, I think there's a time for, being someone who's very directive and autocratic and all of that. But I think as you go up and this could be both. This could be your personal life. It can also be in your professional life. I think having grace, empathy, compassion, being kind, these simple things are really coming back. I think बीच में ना ये गुम गए थे. We had become so harsh and so brutal because of competition. But I think as you grow older, whether it's in your personal life or in the corporate space, I think having more grace, and consideration for others, and that's what makes great team leaders. Because I do a lot of leadership training, right? So they're not really doing the work; they're just managing their teams. So really being able to create that kind of rapport and relationship with your teams where people want to grow for you, and they know that you've got their back. बहुत फर्क पड़ता है.
Right. Oh, there is a beautiful line I remember that if you give me salary, you just purchase my hands to work for you. But if you just, love me, and if you just admire me, if you just, encourage me, you will buy my heart. And I'll work for you day and night.
For life, yeah.
Exactly.
That's true. It's so true.
How do you see this heart connection in behavior? Like what behavior is there that directly connects our hearts? क्या बंदा था, क्या आदमी था, क्या इंसान था, दिल जीत गया, क्या behavior था?
यही तो फर्क है ना. Like when now you see a lot of, like I'm doing a lot of programs right now for senior management in executive presence. It's a very basic program, right? But that's what executive presence is. That how do I create that impact when I walk in the room? What are people thinking about me? What are they feeling about me? What's the gravitas or what's my impact in the room that I walk into? And also, what's the impact when I walk out? What have I left them with?
Right.
So one, of course, is, of course, context and all of that. So, but how much influence do I have?
So how to develop it? Like what to do to develop it?
It takes a lot of work. I think, it's not fair, when we're talking about, executive presence and signature voice, जो लोग 20 साल के हैं, ये gradually आता है. When you deal with a lot of issues, you deal with conflict, you deal with challenges, because we are working, है तो humans, na? We're all humans, right? And, we're driven by human behavior. And we're all made very differently. जो आपको drive करता है, शायद मेरे को नहीं drive करता. But you could be somebody who's a leader.
Right.
You could be my leader, but what drives you might not drive me. So how do I, because we never talk about changing other people. वो तो, it's a waste of time to even get into those conversations. It's really about who do I have to become as a leader so that I can support you to be the best version of yourself. So, because किसी और को बदलने का कोई फायदा नहीं है. Your behavior has to be so dynamic कि इस situation में who do I have to become? And there is no fakeness. So sometimes people say, but isn't that fake? यही होता है ना कि तुम्हें लगता है कि मैं जैसा हूँ वैसा ही हूँ and I am my authentic self. It doesn't work that way. Actually, आप अपनी life में भी देखोगे, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
You always read the room and then you try and show up in the best way that you can create value in that space. नहीं तो कि हाँ होते थोड़ा ना है. If I'm a very assertive style, ये थोड़ा ना होता कि मैं हर बार ही assertive हूँ. Of course not.
I'm not.
तो हम बहुत adapt करते हैं. And I think adaptability is one of the major things when it comes to behavior.
Anyway, I have a personal question. What do you think about my behavior?
No, I think you're very respectful. I don't know that's because of my age or my gender or my experience, but I find you very respectful, and I really appreciate that in people.
Like, so I think that I should sustain it. Like I should take it
Yeah.
till lifetime. So I just want to understand that how do you define about this, presence, right? What should be the presence style or the presenting style that can be regarded in the corporate industry? Ki you have to be like this, or you have to be this much assertive, this much approaching, this much presentable. What do you suggest for this?
So I think executive presence really has three main factors to it. One is your gravitas. Gravitas is how much weight you have in the room, how confident you seem, how do you listen, how do you communicate, what are the words you use, So gravitas है communication. कि आपका tone क्या है, आप, how are you able to manage the conversation, कितना आप सुन रहे हो. Normally हम जब communication की बात करते हैं, we only talk about our talking. But communication is not one way, it is only a closed loop if you're also doing the listening and the other person has understood what you are saying. तब वो loop बंद होता है, And then third, people think it doesn't have much importance, but it has great importance also, is your appearance. So I think how you show up, how you dress yourself also speaks about you.
Yeah.
And all of this speaks about you before you even open your mouth.
Right. That's true. So, like, how should we groom ourselves? Like, what are your suggestions for grooming?
I think just keeping yourself very neat, respectful and contextual. कि आपका जो context है उसके हिसाब से, because a lot of times, especially with the younger generation, they feel कि, this is my identity. But I think it should not take away from your personality. If it is adding to your personality and it's not disrespecting or causing another person to feel uncomfortable, वो सही है फिर.
Nice.
अगर आप सोच रहे हो ये करूं कि नहीं करूं या पहनूं कि नहीं पहनूं, मत पहनो.
Achha.
Don't do it.
Achha.
It's better if you're thinking कि सही है कि नहीं सही है ये, then it's probably.
So if your mind is doubtful, you don't.
Yeah, don't.
Oh, yeah.
My mother used to say that. Then doubt, don't.
Okay, so let me just ask you, like, for example, we just saw there was a new movie Dhurandhar, right? We saw a character there. Then we had Animal, then we had KGF, Pushpa, Jhokega Nahi, Pathan, Jawan. So many movies, and that shows violent character or that violent behavior, right? The hero is coming with AK-47 and something like that. And then we have silent behavior, just like that Tare Zameen Par, Sitare Zameen Par, right? How do you see these two characters in a personality? Violent behavior, silent behavior.
You're saying in one person?
In one person or in different persons, like which is more striking, more dangerous, which is like more welcoming or more okay. Exactly.
So I think movies like Animal and Dhurandhar are movies of the times. They talk about the times because now it has. I mean, kids are exposed to more violence. We weren't exposed to this kind of violence at all. I mean, even in the toys and all, they become so different. Look at the gaming space.
shooting and all.
हाँ, कितना चेंज हो गया. हमारा क्या होता था? We used to have Atari and Pac-Man, So, things are very, very different now. But it's not like violence doesn't exist. This dark side, the shadow side does exist. So I don't think it's completely wrong to make movies like this because वो थोड़ा context तो है. But similarly, I love movies that show kindness and really touch the heart. उनमें भी बहुत मजा है. So I think what difference?
Like, which is more scary? Like, a violent behavior is.
It is, of course it is.
It is scary.
It is terrifying because I remember when I had moved back to India, में लगता था कि यहाँ पे तो ऐसे नहीं होता है. In the West, you hear about gun violence and you see all of this rage on the roads. I don't remember it being like this here. And look at it today, in this year. Look at all the violence. We've never had school violence. Never. Look at the last couple of years. We've got shootings and jumping. And it's just, it's terrifying. It's very, very scary. I think that lack of communication is really a big gap. Whether it's between the parent and the child, or the children are not speaking to each other when they're in trouble. They're not asking for help. वो इतना silos में अब बच्चे जीना शुरू हो गए हैं that we don't know what's going on. It's terrifying for parents.
So sometimes that clinging thought or the deep thought which is not exposed or which is not valued and respected, that takes us to the suicidal attack or suicidal attempt.
Because kids aren't speaking. And why are kids not speaking? Because उनको safety नहीं लगती है. They don't feel they can speak. एक तो हम कहते हैं कि वो बात नहीं करते, पेरेंट्स को बताना चाहिए, लेकिन are you the kind of parent कि आपने वो listening provide करी है कि आप सुन पाओगे? My child's feeling suicidal. Are you ready to hear that?
What's wrong in parenting, in today's parenting?
I feel there's a lack of communication. Mohammed, for sure, बहुत lack है because we are so busy in our lives कि जब तक हम intentionally time नहीं बनाएंगे बच्चों के लिए, वो नहीं बनेगा. वो time गुजर जाएगा. मेरे साथ हुआ है. I was so busy in my 30s, between my 30 and my 40, काम लगे. And that is the time my kids were teenagers. And I was not able to give that attention. So now I've gone back and apologized. Okay, I'm sorry for those 10 years when I was just not there for you. मेरा दिमाग बस काम पे था, And that's the time they need you. Teenage time में तो होता है because there's so much of hormonal stuff going on. So if you don't create that space कि शाम को बैठ के बच्चों से बात करना, actually, हर रोज भी ना बात करो. But they should feel safe. कि मैं जो बोलूँगा ना वो it should not be perceived as गलत. When I'm being honest.
Right.
If I'm feeling these kind of dark feelings, and they have because of environment भी थोड़ा सा है. और एक्सपोजर बहुत ज्यादा है. हमारे टाइम पे क्या एक्सपोजर होता है? ना कुछ पता होता था, उतना ज्यादा कुछ होता भी नहीं था शायद, पता नहीं, I don't know.
Exactly.
But it's a very different time.
Do you think that the parents have become so rigid or over possessive? Like, they're always like a Hitler and like a teacher. Every moment the child acts something and they're there to hit him or hit her.
Culturally हमारे में ये थोड़ा सा है. We are like helicopter parents, I think some of us. ये है ना, culture हमारा ऐसा है कि we really keep them tight and close to us, So what was your question? You wanted to know if it's helpful.
How do you see this actually?
So I think there should be a balance because I have people in my family who are like that, some who are just completely detached from what is going on into my kid's life. And then even in your family or your friends, you'll see. And then you'll see some बहुत over involved हुए हैं. And what I feel the difference is that they're not बच्चों की आवाज, like the children don't want to develop their own voice. So they become quieter and then they become rebellious when they grow older. वो उल्टा पड़ जाता है. At least मैंने जो notice किया, मैंने अपनी life में ये देखा है. मेरी आवाज नहीं थी when I was growing up because my father was very strict. पापा घर आते थे मतलब सब चुप. And look at me now. I express what I feel. Everything I feel, I express.
Right. You have become rebellious now.
Oh, ulta.
Right. So
balance
now hindering him, is that hindering, torturing?
I've lost my parents, but I feel, I think a lot of years were lost. A lot of love was lost. Because it's very difficult to be close to your parents जब सारा टाइम तुम डर में रहते हो. तो वो relationship बड़ी अजीब सी.
How to remove this fear? इस डर को खत्म कैसे किया जाए between parents and children?
I think you have to थोड़ा सा see. I don't believe in your parents. Like I am your friend. I've never been that kind of parent. कि I am your friend. But I think when first you have to just provide support, provide, protect. ये हमारा role होता है शुरू में. उसके बाद then you want to talk about growth. That is when you have to just talk to them. But they have to know कि my parent is on an equal to me. He is somebody who's older and he's got my back. मुझे support मिल रहा है. You know what I mean? That's what I feel. I think parenting should be about conversations, where you can say what you want to say. I will not make you wrong, but I will definitely try and lead you the right way. And होता क्या, हम क्या कोशिश करते हैं, हमने जो गलतियां करी हैं वो हमारे बच्चे ना करें. But
Right.
they'll only learn through galti. And they will learn very fast.
Exactly. We learn very fast. हाँ, थोड़ी गलती. तो गलतियाँ करने देनी चाहिए. We should allow them to make mistakes.
Tell them that this is what's going to go wrong.
Exactly.
But
Right.
you can't. Agency बच्चों को, हर एक बच्चे को चाहिए. अब आज को तो 8 साल के बच्चे को agency चाहिए. They want to have.
So now I want to understand about the silent behavior, like that children go silent, right? They go lonely, or just they sit somewhere at the corner, or even parents start feeling that they have some personality disorders. They start taking them to the psychologists, psychiatrists, or the counselors, right? And even they are the best counselors for them, but they don't do the counseling.
The parents.
Right, the parents, and they take them to the professionals, and professionals charge them, and even try to traumatize more, actually, or dramatize more.
I actually don't know too much about this space because I've never been in a space where I felt my children needed any kind of psychological help because they were.
Had you ever seen someone like in your?
So I don't think there's any harm in you getting some kind of therapy or having somebody to listen to. But like I said, this is not a place that I'm very familiar with. कहीं कहते हैं कि बात करना चाहिए, कहीं कहते हैं कि वो ज़्यादा ही victimhood में रहते हैं फिर.
अच्छा,
You know?
बात करने से.
हाँ. Like then they just become that, oh, you don't understand me. You know, that they can then becomes very victim.
Wait, अच्छा, okay.
Mentality. So that's what the parents also start looking at it that way. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer to this is, but I feel there's no harm for
There's no harm.
children.
Okay.
And I also think the other thing is also about who you send it to. I think as parents doing your homework. पहले तो अपने आप try करो. If you feel that there's no harm getting help, but I think even the kind of help you're getting, be very careful. I remember, there was an incident I remember in school with with my daughter, and the counselor was not equipped. उसमें वो skill ही नहीं था.
ये skill थी.
So you have to be careful about who you're even sending them to.
Exactly. हाँ, how much certified or experienced he is.
How experienced they are.
Right, that's true. Like, how do you see that kind of behavior, which is like, buttering behavior? Like there is an employee in the corporates or in the industry, he's quite buttering to the boss or the manager. So, how do you see this? Like, is it okay to grow, or no, it will just sustain you at the position, or it will degrade you?
So this does happen, as leaders, when we're doing leadership workshops, हम बहुत bias की बात कर रहे हो. अब ना ये होता है, affinity bias होता है. Then you might just find somebody, could be cultural bias, could be anything. And it happens naturally. But as a leader, you have to be very aware about it, And if you're saying कि करना चाहिए, नहीं करना चाहिए, I feel creating, like I said, creating presence is very important. Letting people know. Now organizations, even, पहले होता था कि no, I should not do it. No, let people know, let your leadership know what is the stuff that you have done, what are the skills that you have, what are the accomplishments that you have within the team. There's no harm in having a signature voice, or being able to tell people that what my skills are and what my competencies is, because and to leverage that. There's no harm in doing that. As long as, and this doesn't mean that you have to be very aggressive or you have to be very very loud. People mistake it, ना. उनको लगता है कि नहीं, show off करना पड़ेगा, जोर से बातें कर. No, not really. Not really. Sometimes the softest voice spoke in the calmest way has more power than somebody who's screaming.
Who's louder, or
Yeah, it's not always.
okay. So I just want to understand that what are the behaviors that's actually that's not admired, like that creates a bad vibe or negative vibe. What are the behaviors? What are the actions exactly?
Yeah, I think one, mostly when I talk about corporate, most employees have an issue of lack of empathy, where they feel कि empathy मतलब he can't step into my shoes,
Right.
and look at it from my point of view. He's only looking at it from his point of view. I think lack of empathy is a very big
Lack of empathy.
lack of empathy is a big, And now see, when we're talking about when we're talking about corporate training, पहले we could not dare to speak this kind of stuff. 10 साल पहले अगर तुम empathy की बात करो, it's not acceptable.
Right.
But now these are the kind of conversations people are having.
That's true. That's
Important to have lack of empathy. Provide listening. Listening हम कैसे करते हैं? When we communicate, even when we're talking about listening, I am only listening कि मुझे आगे क्या बोलना है.
हाँ.
वहाँ से सुनते हैं.
Right.
We are not really listening to what is being said.
Exactly. And that's not good way to listen, actually, right? That's not good way to listen. Okay, so now what do you think about your personality? That what is your best behavior? If you introspect yourself.
I think for me, my strong core competencies are things like being playful. I'm somebody who's very creative. Like if you put me on the spot and say, let's do something. And it happens sometimes, you have a breakdown in a workshop.
Right.
ये नहीं चल रहा, हम बाहर चले जाएंगे. So you have to constantly adapt. I think the ability to adapt yourself to your surrounding is a very, very strong skill to have.
Amazing. Adaptability. So
Adaptability.
you have that adaptability, right?
Yeah, and it's important now. As you can be put in any situation and you can read the room and then adapt yourself. And to remember to do it in a way कि you don't lose yourself completely. अपना authentic self भी है, but I can adapt to creating value here. Yes. So, like for example, this is not a usual situation for me. Coming to this part of I've never been to this part of the city. I never come to East LA. But adapt करना.
This is the first time.
This is the first time.
This is first time Jamna Par.
Jamna नहीं, my daughter stays in Noida. But इस तरफ मैं कभी नहीं आई हूँ. पर ठीक है, आना है तो आना है. कुछ ना कुछ कर लेंगे.
Abdullah ने बुलाया तो आना था.
पहुंच जाएंगे किसी ना किसी.
That's right. Okay, now a few last but not least questions in the end of the podcast. I just want to understand what are your messages for those ladies who have just crossed their 50s? Should they take the retirement, that they should sit and they should knit the sweaters, which is great also, which is also great. And they should wait for their, nati and natin and poti pota, something like that. So, or should they create some kind of curiosity and some kind of hobbies like you developed actually?
So I feel, for women, and I'm in this space also now, एक तो मेरा corporate space है, and then I'm creating a lot of workshops for women.
Right.
Because a lot of them are in, they are from this age of 55 से लेके 75, बहुत मजे की जगह है. Because अब तक क्या होता है, your kids are usually married off. If you become a nani, not become a nani or dadi, that's fine. But now you will see, what I'm helping people do is I'm creating a platform where they're able to rediscover themselves. कि actually before शादी and before all of that मेरी क्या dreams थी, मुझे क्या बनना था, मुझे क्या करना था. And Abdullah, बहुत मजा आ रहा है. So I drive these conversations and workshops through art.
Okay.
So I make them work through their whole life. What were the highs, what were the lows? And actually बहुत सीख मिलती है. When you reflect back on your life, so I'm working, when you're talking about 50 plus women, that's what I'm doing with them. I'm talking about them just, look at the journey you've had. What were the strengths? What were the hard points? How did you show up for people? Because हम ना अपने आप को appreciate नहीं करते हैं. We don't have the time, right? हम बस जिंदगी जी रहे हैं, right? We don't have the time to reflect and think. And so, yeah, man, I really showed up and I did this right and I showed strength here. These were my low moments. This is how I supported. And उस journey को देखने में, they are able to look at अच्छा आगे क्या करना है. And it's a very individual choice. Whether I have somebody who wants to, she's getting into hardcore art classes. कि मुझे in this space
actually women start victimizing them or they start feeling that now we can't do anything, all right.
But ऐसे होने की कोई जरूरत नहीं
है.
I don't know why we have that culture कि now I'm on the fag end of my life. Actually, this is a new beginning. आपने जितना काम करना था, you have done. This is the time for yourself. So this is actually a beginning point. It is not an end point. And unfortunately, that's how it is.
It was seen in Indian culture, always be.
See, अब तो बस support ही करना है, family को support किया, काम किया, अब नानी दादी का role play करना है, but this is the time for you to reinvent yourself. तुम जो मर्जी करो यार, मोटरसाइकिल चलाओ, paint करो, dance करो, जो मर्जी कर पाओ. Because by now, you have played every role that you were supposed to play. तो अब अपने लिए नहीं जियोगे तो फिर कब?
सही बात. So you're talking about recreation and regeneration. So recreate your life, reframe your.
And recreate by going back.
Going back, okay.
मुझे actually करना क्या था? What were my dreams? Because we get lost as women. I don't know when men के साथ भी ये होता है actually. But हम अपने आप को ना lose कर देते हैं.
Lose कर देता है. Right, that's true.
I don't know if men have the same experience.
Have the same? Yeah, most of the men, I think in rural backgrounds or rural areas, they have the same. But somewhere in urban, they live and they do something, right? But yes, men too, but women, I think too much. Women have too much, right? So you can be an inspiration for the women that how they can recreate it.
Yeah.
Anything in the last, you have any message or anything you want to say from your side, from your heart, that you want to speak something?
Yeah, I think I do have a very soft spot for women. I can't help it being a woman myself. And I feel, I think life is too short. And if you're going to be on your deathbed thinking, अच्छा मैंने बहुत काम किया और ये करा सारों के लिए किया and I've done nothing for myself, you're going to stay very dissatisfied. So whatever point you are in your life, remember to also follow your dreams.
Right. Yeah, right. I think it needs or it demands so much courage for the women to take any decision. And I think if they get courage one time, or they are encouraged by someone like you are the source of this courage, I think then they can take a step and they can decide something to do, and they will definitely achieve it.
And it's actually scarier in your head. जब आप करना शुरू करते हो इतना स्केरी एक्चुअली नहीं होता है, वो हो जाता है, होते होते हो जाता है.
Right. होते होते हो जाता है. So that's why you should believe in the path of process.
Just start. शुरू में discomfort होएगा because obviously you've lived life a certain way and we like to be in our comfort zones. ये थोड़ा सा बाहर step करना पड़ेगा, कुछ अलग करना पड़ेगा, तो discomfort तो है. And this isn't everything. It could be with learning a new dish you're cooking. Just to get past that discomfort, and you will be surprised if people who are around you love you ना, अगर उनके लिए भी थोड़ा सा अजीब लगेगा उनको शुरू में, if they love you, they will stand for you.
They will stand for you. Amazing. Okay, so the thing I just want to know here that, do you have some other hobbies like singing, poeting, right, shairis or any?
No, not at all actually. Not at all. I can't sing for my life. I think we all wish we could sing, but nahi.
You don't believe that you have that much?
I don't have the skill. No. Not even, I'm not even going to attempt, yeah.
Okay, so anything that you do apart from these three things, like, the learning and development training, then arts, and then, of course, motorcycling. Anything else that you do?
Anything else? Do you think I should have more? People tell me I have too much. I'm already too much.
Already too much, exactly.
No, but I think also, volunteering is one thing I love doing. I love spending time with kids. So I have a friend who's got an NGO. तो बच्चों के साथ जाके खेलना, उनके साथ time spend करना, इतना प्यार मिलता है. I think volunteering is something everybody should do. जितना कर सकते हो, कोई वो नहीं है, और ये सिर्फ पैसे का ट्रांजैक्शन नहीं है. जो आप टाइम, and people you can choose बच्चों के लिए if you feel for kids, if you want to go to old age homes, जितना आप give back कर सकते हो, उसमें जो fulfillment है ना, उसका मजा अलग है.
Amazing, right? Any message for Delhi wala people? Delhi वाले लोगों के लिए कोई?
Yeah, I think Delhi people, एक तो, I feel first of all, I think everybody should learn to breathe. पहले तो slow down, because life is so fast paced in the city. Okay, just remember to breathe. I think that'll be my message. With the AQI जैसी भी है, but yeah, just breathe.
Just calm, pause,
Breathe, yeah.
just breathe. So this is the first message, right? And this is the first and last message.
First and last. Breathe, उसके बाद ही you'll be able to look at reflection and क्या power है और क्या करना है आगे. पहले आप stop.
Okay.
Breathe.
So what gap you find between the air of Delhi and Gurgaon?
कोई ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं है.
ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं.
जहर.
जहर, वहाँ भी जहर, यहाँ भी
जहर ही है.
हर तरफ ऊपर वाले का कहर है. All right. So, like, do you have any plan in future, like, to just settle down out of this NCR, like somewhere?
I used to, we have these conversations with my husband all the time. यार निकले यहाँ से क्या life decision हमने बनाई है, but I don't know if I will ever move. And a lot of people ask me कि तुम बाहर वापस जाओगी, because I spent almost 30 years abroad. But I love India. पता नहीं, I don't know. I never grew up here. I didn't spend time here, but I have a great love for this country. I would never leave.
Amazing. And that's a patriotism or nationalism.
I would never leave. जो मैं कभी भी नहीं, in at least the way I grew up, इतनी छोटी सी life थी, close, protected life थी, कि यहाँ पे तो खेलो, जो मर्जी करो.
Right. यहाँ पे. So
हाँ,
especially, so India is a kind of country and the nation to give you the wings to
freedom. Yeah, it's true. If you have the courage,
if you have the
you
courage.
can have true freedom.
All right. The last question. How a woman can muster up the courage, can get and receive and can generate that courage to just do anything in her life, actually?
Yeah, I think most important is first to take the first step. You have the courage to take the first step. एक बार आप करोगे, then you will be able to take the next step and the next step. Otherwise, everything looks like a big pahar to you, whether work-wise हो या कुछ भी हो. आपने बस वो पहला कदम लेना है. You take that first step and then and practice. जितना practice करोगे, उतना ease आएगा. So has the courage to step out, take that first step.
Thank you, ma'am. And I think, yes, as you have just mentioned that you have been in Qatar, right, where you were not allowed to be even a pillion rider. And you, after coming back to India, you just, became a motorcyclist. So it took so much courage to actually, adopt this or decide this exactly. So I think I would like to say for all the women sitting around the world, they should be courageous. They should take the decision. They should come out of that cage exactly. There are two types of cage, I do believe. That one cage, that exactly the external cage, the physical cage. One, in most of the women, that is mental and psychological cuts. They have to come out of that. It's in your head, right? And what you broke, I think. And all the women need to break if I.
And you can. You just have to take that first step.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Right. So I can not call you ma'am. I would like to call you Mandy now, right? You know?
Yeah.
So Mandy, you have made me Maddie.
No, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
It was really a great conversation, a great podcast, and talks where we dive deep into insightful conversation and points. And ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that you must have gained insightful conversation and insightful learnings too by just watching this conversation, the podcast. We'll be coming back with Maddie for a great and insightful conversation, the next conversation very soon. Till then, thank you so much and thank you.
Thank you much. Thank you.